I'm excited today to talk to you about creating consistency. This video will apply to really anything that you want to be consistent at, but in this space, modern body, modern life, I really focus on wellness, on you being in the healthiest version of your body and life possible, on you going to your next level, and you feeling like the creator of your life. And so when it comes to consistency, I'll tell you my stories. I spent years really every morning wanting to lose weight, wanting to eat better, drink less, all of those things. And I was consistent for a few hours, but then as the evening rolled around, I would fall off track. And I was really in this circle of inconsistency, or this cycle of inconsistency, where I would make a plan, not stick to it, make a plan, not stick to it. I always did this with my workouts as well, is I would get myself to be able to work out for a few days, and then there would be a reason I couldn't work out, and then I would fall off track. I wouldn't just take a day off of the gym. I then would be like off track until I got back on track. I felt like I was spending my life getting back on track. And so because of that, I was inconsistent. And because of that, I wasn't creating the body and life. I wasn't creating the results I wanted with my health and with my body and with fitting in my clothes and with my muscle and all of these things. So today I want to help you become a more consistent person. Not being consistent is so common, and this shows up differently. If I look at all of my clients that I've helped lose weight in a consistent way, eat better, drink better, if I look at all of them together, there's some things that stand out to me. First of all, I think the women that come to me that they only have 5 to 10 pounds to lose, they have a track record of being inconsistent. And there's different reasons for, you might see yourself in a lot of these scenarios, so I'm going to go through all of them. For people that only have like 5 to 10 pounds to lose, and they've been telling themselves, this was my story, telling themselves for years that they want to lose 5 pounds or 10 pounds. One of the reasons for the inconsistency is that they don't have a strong enough why. They don't really, they want it for themselves, but no one else around them really cares because they're usually pretty healthy at that point, and they don't have a strong enough why, which I'm going to talk about creating a strong why in a moment. But that's a big one. It's like they're not in a pain. They already look pretty good. They already have people telling them they look good. And so even if they, this was my story, is if I would say to someone, I really would like to lose 10 pounds, they would look at me like, you're crazy. And that would just reconfirm, the story they were telling themselves in the moment, that they shouldn't worry about this. But their true desire, like my true desire, was to, lose, for me, it was 12 pounds. So for people who have just a little bit of weight to lose, sometimes they don't have a strong enough why. It's almost like they're not in enough pain. And pain is a big motivator. So a lot of times this lack of pain, meaning not physical pain, but emotional pain, is the reason why they are inconsistent. So another reason that is very common that I see with a lot of my clients is they have a life that really revolves around delicious food. Now, this wasn't a problem hundreds of years ago, but now with our food system it's so accessible. You could call and have an Uber Eats to your house usually in 10 minutes if you live in a place that's close to the grocery store. And so we have a life, a lot of us, that is revolved around eating food. It's like at every moment, food is part of the plan. And maybe you have a partner that is that way. Maybe together you've created a life that is that way. Maybe that is the way you grew up, is that like at every moment we should be eating all times of the day for every single moment. That is a big problem that I help a lot of my clients unravel. The thing that's interesting about that is that a lot of people have designed their life around like constantly eating delicious food, but the problem is they're pretty darn miserable in their body. And so I like to say, let's switch that. Let's be a little bit like, oh, the food's not great, but we feel amazing in our body. Or maybe the food's not great all the time. It's not a party in our mouth all the time, but we feel really great in our body and with our choices. It's very common, if you are not consistent with your eating and your drinking and movement, if you use food or alcohol for every emotion possible. So if you feel like you turn to alcohol and food when you're happy because you're celebrating, and it's like, oh my gosh, this is so fun, let's celebrate in food and drink, very common. But then also you had a bad day, let's turn to food and drink. And then also what also happens is you're having one of those moments where life is good, nothing bad is going on, but you're a little bit bored, and what would make anything more fun is food and drink. Can't you relate to that? And so that is a problem. That's why people are tending to be not consistent with their healthy eating habits and healthy movement habits and healthy living habits. Inconsistency is also very common if you are one of the many people who you let the circumstances of your life determine how you feel. Let me explain that in layman's terms. And so, for a lot of people, they're going about their day, and if things are going right in their day, they're happy, they're content. But if things are not going right, they're not happy. And so what this looks like is if you're on the way to work and everything is going well, you get to work on time, everyone's nice to you, you're happy and everything's great with your life. But then if all of a sudden you're on the way to work and you get a speeding ticket, or you're on the way to work and you blow a tire on the way to work, all of a sudden it's a bad day. So for many people walking around the earth, like their happiness level, their level of happy and contentedness is reliant upon what is going on in their life. And if this is the first time you've ever really heard someone talk about how we have so much more control over our mindset and our perspective, and most circumstances are neutral, maybe this is the first video of mine that you've watched, you might be like, what are you talking about? But what I'm talking about is what I teach my clients is that we can be really good, we can get good at managing our mind. And what that means is that all of a sudden a challenging situation comes into our lives, and at first we go, oh my gosh, this is hard, and then we decide, what do I want to think on purpose about this? How do I want to feel about this? Do I want this to derail my health goals? Do I want this to derail my relationship because I'm going to then be snippy at my partner? No. And so what we learn here in the world of coaching, in the world of modern body, modern life, is that you get to decide what you think and feel about every situation. It really is your choice. And I've seen this in my own life where, 10 years ago, if I would have got a flat tire, I would have literally been like, oh my God, I can't believe this is happening to me. It's always something. Oh my God, now I have this, and it would have ruined my day, and I would have come home, and it would have been permission for me to say, I'm not eating healthy dinner. I'm just going to order in Mexican food and stuff myself. That's what I would have done years ago. And now I can easily go, oh my God, I can't believe this happened. Okay, you know what? Our life's pretty good. And I can reframe the way I'm thinking. I can intentionally think about how I want to handle that situation, how I want to think about that situation. If that happened to me today, I'd say, you know what? It's still a good day. We have fun plans tonight. My children are all safe. Life is good. I can take care of this very easily. Different perspective creates different results in our lives. So although being an inconsistent person is very common, I want to help you create consistency in your life with what you truly desire for your life. So what most people do is when they decide they want to be more consistent, or they decide they want to go all in on themselves, they really go all of a sudden they say, this is what I'm going to do. Let's say they want to eat healthier. I'm going to get all the bad food out of the house. I'm starting Monday, boom. That's actually not where we want to start. So it's really good to know what you truly desire for yourself. And when I say truly desire, there's a difference between wanting something and truly desiring. I want a cookie. I want to skip my workout. I want to stay up late watching TV. But what I truly desire is to, if I'm going to have a cookie, just have one or two. If I'm going to, if I have a plan to work out, I want to do that workout because I'm getting stronger. And I want to go to bed at a good time so I sleep well and I take care of myself so I'm healthy and I age well, and I could keep going on. That's a true desire. We want stuff all the time in the moment. So you have to first decide what you truly desire, and I believe you already know if you take a moment and you're really honest with yourself. You do know what you truly desire for your body and your life. But the first step is not necessarily deciding what you're going to do. It's figuring out why you weren't consistent in the past. So take a moment and ask yourself, you know what you want, and I would even pause this video and take a moment and say, why was I not consistent in the past? What got in the way? And be radically honest. What got in the way? And what happens here is you start to see your patterns. You start to understand why you are inconsistent. Is it something, is it a certain time of day that always seems to happen to you? Is it a certain person? Is it a certain, are you trying to be too perfect? Is it a certain time of the month? Are you trying to do too much? Are you thinking too big instead of doing something that's a little bit, like starting out a little bit smaller? If it comes to like emotional eating, are you avoiding a negative emotion or are you escaping negative emotion? I have a video on that in my on my YouTube channel. So you really have to understand yourself at a deeper level. But the most important thing for you to understand is, what are the thoughts that create inconsistency for you? What are the thoughts that come up that make you give up on yourself, that make you abandon yourself? And these thoughts, I'll give you some of mine. They're not horrible thoughts like, you're a loser. Not usually. Usually they're very subtle, like, you know what, we don't have time for this. Or you know what, you can just do it later, when you know you don't like doing it later, especially with me and working out. Like, I love to work out in the morning, but sometimes my primitive brain tells me, oh, I should just do it later. And I know later is hard. Working out later in the day is really hard for me. So it also sometimes sounds like it doesn't matter, right? It sounds like you're almost kind of changing your mind. Or maybe you say, this isn't going to be fun if I do this. When it comes to eating, especially in social events, if you're trying to drink a little bit less or eat a little bit less, when you're in that social event, your primitive brain is going to say, it's not going to be as fun for you if you don't eat all the things. Are you going to believe that in the moment? That's the question. If we can start seeing the patterns, oh, that's what I always tell myself. That's what makes me be inconsistent. That's what makes me give up on myself. Then you can start planning for it. You can even say to yourself, this sounds so corny, but I'll like put my hand really quickly on my heart before I walk into a restaurant. Maybe you won't even notice it if you're with me, but I will say, okay, Courtney, you know what you usually do. You usually tell yourself, oh, it doesn't matter. Everyone else is getting French fries. I tell myself those things. But if you prepare yourself, then when it comes, you go, oh, no, thank you to that thought. You don't have to believe that thought that your primitive brain gives you. So what thoughts are keeping you from being inconsistent? One of the biggest examples of inconsistency with working out and eating better and drinking less is weekends. So many people that I have coached, they can start to do really well during the week, and then the weekend comes and it's either they don't do quite as well, or it literally is a little bit of a shit show over the weekend. It's almost like, I'm out, and they completely abandon all of their healthy habits. And so what are the thoughts that really trip people up on the weekends? There's a few of them. I have them written down here. It's me time. Like, we work all week and we have this like entitlement that it's me time. That thought comes, it's my time to take care of myself, or it's my time, and not take care of ourselves in a good way, but just to enjoy ourselves. So it's my time to enjoy myself. I don't know what we're going to be doing, which creates confusion. So common for people to say, well, I didn't eat really well because I didn't know what we were going to do. But you have so much more power than you think. You have so much more power to be able to say, maybe if you actually don't know what you're doing, but maybe you say, but I know what I'm doing. And it's so simple. We make it so complicated. If like tonight, if I know where I'm going to eat tonight, but if I didn't, I would say, I don't know where I'm going to eat, but I know I'm having meat and vegetables. Done. And I'm not drinking. Or you might say to yourself, I don't know where we're going to eat tonight, but whatever I'm eating, I'm going to really stick to this, and I'm only having 2 drinks. Done. But we get caught up on that. I don't know what everyone's going to want. I don't want to, because when we're saying we don't know, it's almost like permission granted. It's not our fault if we eat off of our plan, if we drink off of our plan, if we are inconsistent. One of the biggest problems with weekends is people feel like if they don't eat all the things that they've been eating in the past, that they're missing out, that they're not part of the cool kids club, that they're not part of the group, that they're missing out. And so that is a thought I really want you to question. When it comes up for you, I want you to go, is it true? Am I missing out because I'm not having 1 extra drink? Am I missing out because I'm not having the potato boats? Or am I missing out because I am not feeling the way I want to feel and looking the way I want to look in my body? Where's the real missing out here? And here's what I will tell you. If you end up making a plan over the weekend to eat and drink and move better than you have in the past, and you get yourself to do it, when you lay your head on the pillow Saturday night or Sunday night, you're not going to say, you know what? I wish I would have skipped my workout. You know what? I wish I would have had 2 more margaritas. You know what? If I could go back in time, I would have those nachos. It's not going to happen. At that moment, you realize you didn't miss anything. But in the moment, your primitive brain tells you you're missing out, and it's just simply not true. So the next thing that you need to do is you need to really have a good why for why you want, what you truly desire. I talked about this a moment ago. It's so important for you to have a powerful like intense why for what you truly desire for yourself. If you want to lose 5 pounds, why? Why will that be so amazing? If you want to lose 40 pounds, why? Why will that be so amazing? And sometimes, again, when it comes to people who only have 5 pounds, they want it just because they want to feel good in their body. They want to put their hands on their hips and feel a certain way. And so when you're the only one that cares about it, we really need to have a strong why. If you have to lose 50 pounds, you realize there's probably some health things that are really important. You probably have your doctor, maybe a loved one saying, we really support you. We want you to lose weight. That's a bigger why. You're probably going to get a lot of support from people if you start doing well. And even if you have 50 pounds to lose and you lose 4 pounds, people in your life are going to go, amazing, I'm so happy for you. But if you only have 5 pounds to lose, no one cares. I'm just telling you right now. I've seen it with me and I've seen it with so many of my clients. So you have to have a strong why, whether you want to lose 5 pounds or whether you want to lose 50 pounds. And you want to have this strong why, not only of how your life is going to be different, but how are you going to feel? And here's the magic. If you think, I'm going to feel so proud, I'm going to feel vibrant, I'm going to feel energetic, the goal is to feel vibrant and energetic while you're creating consistency now, even though you're not at your goal yet. That is the goal. That is the practice, is to feel the way you'd feel in advance. So what is your why? Do you need to beef up your why? It was so funny. I had a client this week and I said, okay, what is your why? She was supposed to really kind of think about what her why was. I said, what is your why? She was, I don't know. Can we talk about why again? Tell me about it. I said, yeah. And I said, so like, why do you want to keep going? Why do you want to lose that extra pounds? You've already lost weight. Why keep going? And all of a sudden she was, and she came up with like 4 different reasons. And all I did was reframe the question very slightly. So she already knew her why. She just wasn't conscious of it. And it's important for you to be conscious of it. So journal and say, why do I want this? Why is this important to me? Why do I want to fit in those jeans? Why do I want to lose 15 pounds? Why do I want to get stronger? And it's okay if some of those is because I want my arms to look good, because I want to feel good in my swimsuit, because I have a wedding to go to and I want to feel like I look good at my wedding. Those are great, but let's go even deeper than that. How would you feel? Are you going to be proud? Are you going to feel like you're giving a gift to your family because you're taking really good care of yourself? Are you going to be able to go off some medicine, maybe because right now you're on some medicine because you're not eating the way you know you can be eating? And maybe it's like, because this is my one life. What a beautiful why. That's one of mine. And I want you to ask yourself this question. What does real consistency look like? I think for most people, they think consistency looks like perfection. They think that if they say, I'm going to start on Monday, that they start on Monday, and that they literally hardly ever eat cookies again, and that everything just becomes easy. That's not necessarily consistency. True consistency, in my book, is you becoming a woman that does better most of the time. Not only do you allow yourself to have some of the foods that you love, to have a rest day where you don't work out, to have a cocktail if you want a cocktail. Not only do we plan for some of those in, that can be consistent. You eating some of those delicious foods that aren't necessarily good for you. That's consistency. But I think we can also be consistent even if we mess it all up once in a while, right? Just because we have one day where we ate more than we said we were going to, and we're a little bit like, what happened? It doesn't mean we've broken the consistency. It doesn't mean, oh my God, you didn't do perfect, you have to start over. And I know that in the world of dieting, especially some of these diets, you literally have to start over. You mess up, you have to start over. I remember I was doing a Whole30, and that was the Whole30, one of the rules was if you mess up, you have to start over. And I remember I went to sushi with my son and we got edamame. We always get edamame. And I'm like 3 bites in of edamame and all of a sudden I went, oh my God, I think this is a bean. I think because you're not supposed to, on Whole30, you're not supposed to have beans. And I'm like, oh my God. And then I just sat there and thought, do I have to start over? And I just very quickly, energetically put my hand on my heart and said, no, we are not starting over. We're going to be fine. Now, it turns out Whole30 didn't work for me. And it probably didn't work for you when you went on a diet, because I completely restricted my food and alcohol. I didn't do anything bad except for that edamame for, one moment for about 45 days. I lost weight. I can't remember how much I lost, but I lost some legit weight. And then what did I do right at the end? I celebrated with a cocktail. I promised myself I was never going to eat all those things again. I was a changed woman, and I gradually, slowly started implementing those things back into my diet and felt out of control and felt a lot of shame. So consistency is not perfection. Consistency is living a better life, a more aligned life than you've been living in the past. Consistency is falling off track and being nice to yourself and saying, what went wrong there? Let me find out. Just like the first thing I asked you is to figure out what's kept you from consistency in the past. When you mess up, what got in the way for you? And then go, oh, that's right. I told myself it wasn't important. That's right. I have a history of telling myself it's not important, but it is important. How can I do better in the future? So when it comes to creating consistency, can you see how this idea of like, I'm just going to eat better. I'm just going to drink less. I'm just going to watch what I eat. I'm just going to go to the gym more. I'm just going to get my 10,000 steps in. I'm just going to have to make time for it. It's not enough. That's not a decision. It's not enough to create consistency. What needs to happen is you need to change you. You need to become the next 2.0 version of you in the best way possible. So I would start to imagine you being more consistent, my definition of consistent, where you're not necessarily perfect, you're just living better. You're living more aligned. I just started a new membership called the Aligned Life Membership. It's a monthly membership. You're invited to join me where I help women live an aligned life. And what that means is what you're doing during the day aligns with what you truly decide for yourself. We keep telling ourselves, I got to do better. I got to do better. I got to do better. But yet we're not. We need to learn how. No one's taught us. I went to UC Davis. There was never a class available to me where it says, learn how to be consistent, learn how to follow through, learn how to become a woman that keeps promises and trusts herself. That would have been an amazing class. It might be a class I do someday. So I would love for you to join me in the Aligned Life membership. I'll put the link in this video. But creating consistency is a little bit more it's deeper than people think. And this is the work I do with my clients. And I hope this video really helped you because I want you to create consistency so you can live in the body and have the life of your dreams.